Yeah, you're welcome. What's your question?
My question is about some inconsistency in quotation marks. I have, for example, emotional planets such as the moon on a splenic gate. And though you don't see my incarnation cross here, all of the gates are on my G center, and my G center isn't defined. I don't even, have like channels there. So as a projector, when such a main energy focus is so inconsistent, what would it mean in terms of
I'm
getting
not, I'm going to stop you for a second because I'm not really following what you're saying. What is
okay,
inconsistent? I mean,
all
your
the
incarnation cross is here because it's your sun, your two suns and your two
okay,
earths. So
yeah.
I can see your incarnation cross.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
But so what's inconsistent?
yeah. The energy, it doesn't flow continuously. My G center is not defined.
Yeah.
And also some planets, like I mean, I don't even remember which gate, but my moon is in a splenic gate. So this creates, and also I have, for example, Saturn and Neptune, two very opposing planets on the same gate. Like this is the kind of inconsistency I mean.
It
I don't know
sounds
if,
to me like you're trying to apply astrology to human design. Is that true?
I mean, yes and no, because I mean, astrologically, it's a bit, um, I mean, actually, that wasn't initially what I was doing, but now I'm
Well, just
thinking,
even the way you're talking about the moon and the planets and everything, it sounds very astrological, not human design.
I mean, after all, when I look at my gates individually and the channel, so what is the planet that defines that gate, or what is the planet that, is defining the channel? So that was my
Well, let
line
me
of
just
thought.
give you an example because you talked about the moon being really emotional, but in human design, the moon is not emotional. That's astrological. Or you
Okay.
talked about Neptune and Uranus being oppositional, but in human design, they're not. So this is why I'm trying to understand why you're interpreting things the way that you are, because this is not how I would interpret them. So here's the thing. Everybody has parts of their chart where they have hanging gates and things are open. So I would not use the word inconsistent in that. I would call it variable. So you're gonna experience these, all of the white parts of your chart, you've already experienced them many different times. And when I'm just trying to understand what you're getting at with inconsistent, are you feeling like your incarnation cross is not available to you because you think it's inconsistent because the G center is undefined? Is that the root of what you're asking?
Yes, in a way, like just when you were explaining the previous person about having a defined center, meaning you have access, like continuous access to that energy. But in my case, like, so the center is not defined.
Correct.
So that was what I was referring to as an inconsistent flow. It doesn't flow all the time. Like that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. And what's your question?
How would this play into getting recognition as a projector? Because it's not all the time available to me.
Okay, I don't think that's the most helpful way to think about this. Okay. So yeah. Okay. I think you're trying to apply different things. I wouldn't really think about it that way. So here's the thing. You can develop a relationship with any part of your chart that is undefined. And because I think you're the vessel of love. Is that your incarnation cross is the vessel of love? Um,
So
so
it's right angle cross of the Sphinx.
Of the Sphinx. Okay, could be
Yeah.
just because it's centered on the G center. You can develop your relationship with your G center even though it's open, and you can develop a sense of identity and self even though it's open. You're not. It doesn't. It may not be always the same, but you can still. It's kind of like what I said about the sensing circuit right at the beginning. I don't know if you were here then. Right at the beginning, I said, I have a very deep and meaningful relationship with the sensing circuit, but it's not defined in my chart. So you can develop a deep and meaningful relationship with any part of your chart if you choose to, and you focus on it, and you learn about the G center, and you're like, ooh, I really want to work with that energy and see what that feels like. Ooh, when I'm with this person and they have a defined G, it feels like this. And when I'm with this person and they have a defined G, it feels like that. And ooh, I really like the way this one feels. And ooh, I don't like the way that one feels. Ooh, what if I were to play around with trying to feel that one I like more often? But then you will have periods of it being more neutral, because the energy will drain out because it is open. But interestingly enough, you still have those 4 gates, which are in your incarnation cross, are still lit up on your G center, which means that you're going to still have access to G center energy, even if the whole thing isn't defined. So when it
Okay.
comes to recognition for projectors, the most important thing for you to do to gain recognition as a projector is to get really excited and enthusiastic and lit up about something that's really meaningful for you in your life. And that's going to affect your entire chart, because that's going to just create a magnetic energy field, because enthusiasm is an energy that is palpable and is magnetic. That's the most important thing any projector can do to gain recognition and receive invitations, regardless of the particular configuration of their chart. Is that helpful?
Yes, very much so. Thank
Good.
you. This is a very, interesting way of view. And you said you wouldn't consider Moon as emotional, but you mentioned Saturn being like a teacher.
Mhm.
Um, how would you then consider Neptune?
Well, in human design, we consider Neptune being a powerful spiritual theme in your life.
So not like, dreamy and undisciplined and, like everything Saturn is not, basically.
Yeah, but here's the thing, like there's so much teaching in astrology in particular, but also in human design, that chooses to focus on conflict, right? To me, it's like, how do these energies dance and complement and work together? To me, that's a much more interesting and empowering question than seeing things as being in conflict. Because here's the thing, Saturn has something, is, the master of discipline. It's all about, how do we develop personal discipline? How do we develop our devotion? How do we choose to focus our attention and our energy on things that really support us, right? And Saturn is lighting up a particular thing in everybody's chart, right? Mine is self-love. It's like Saturn is like, Maggie, you need to learn about self-love, and you need to practice that every day. And so to me, that is a standalone thing. And so Neptune can be lighting something else up, and it can bring in another theme. And yeah, Neptune is kind of watery and emotional. It's true. And it can be a little hard with Neptune, because it can be in the subconscious, but spiritual themes are often in the subconscious, right? They're in a different dimension. It's not a practical energy, right? Whereas Saturn is very practical. But to me, they're not in opposition. They're both offering something super valuable. You want both of them, but they're not opposing. Does that make sense? They're just offering you different benefits.
Yes, and very insightful. Thank you. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
oh, you're welcome. Okay, good. And I would just say that for all of you, for all of those things, I mean, and you probably, if you've been watching my transit reports, especially lately, it's like the place where I see potential conflict that comes up. Okay. I always try to call it a creative tension rather than a conflict, is with where we get the overuse of the left brain energy, which tends to make us dismiss our intuition and our creativity. Right? That, again, rather than seeing them as opposing, seeing them as something that um works together. I always say, get your left brain energy to play nice with your right brain energy.